Hi everyone, I'm Sumeet,
Hi, I'm Puneet.
and this is the second episode of our brand new podcast. And it's actually the end of the year almost. And so when the episode is up, it will be late December, and everyone will be getting ready for the new year. So the year is coming to an end. We don't know where it went. It just kind of flew by. And we were wondering, the both of us, if this happens to everyone as they get older. Let us know what you think. Or perhaps it feels like this because of how busy our lives have become. You know, our days and our weeks and our months are so tightly packed. And our lives are increasingly shaped by capitalist market forces and social media trends. And in times like these, reading and slowing down is almost an act of rebellion. And we encourage you to take it up. For both of us at Sisters, Sips, and Stories, the end of the year is a time to pause, to slow down, wind down, and take stock. And what better way to do this than to talk about the books we've read this year and what we plan to read next year? And so first, Puneet has read a lot of books. I think about more than 10 for sure, whereas I've only managed to read one. I'm very ashamed, but we'll come to that later. But Puneet, do you want to start by talking about the books that you've read?
Yes. So, as you said, that the act of reading is almost an act of rebellion. So, I want to start off by saying that I've rebelled a lot this year. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I have a huge stack of books, which I will show. I hope people don't get bored as I bring them out
No.
one by one. So, I have
Yeah.
both physical books and some digital books also, which I'll show later. So let's
Okay.
start with the physical copies that I have, and I'll also keep saying if I enjoy it and how much I enjoyed, or and whether I recommend these books or not. So
Okay.
let me start off by with this book. It's called Unorthodox by Deborah Feldman. It was this was quite an international bestseller and a very popular book because it's these are actually you could say these are memoirs of this lady Deborah Feldman, who's a Jew, a very orthodox sect of Jews. They're called Hasidic Jews, I think. They live in New York, and she escaped, and then it's her life story. Very inspiring. Totally recommend it. You should read.
Mhm.
All right. Then next we have another book in the same vein. This is Educated by Tara Westover, again an international bestseller. This lady was a member of Mormon sect, if you would
Mhm.
have heard.
Right.
They don't believe in I mean, they don't believe too much in education, and the story of how she overcame all the challenges with everything in life was stacked against her, and she got a wonderful world class education. And this is her story. Again, I recommend it. Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Next we have a science fiction bestseller by this very famous author Ursula K. Le Guin, and these are short stories or novellas written by her. I can't praise it enough because, as you know, I'm a science fiction fan, die-hard science fiction fan. So, for all the other science fiction fans, a great read. Absolutely recommend it.
Right.
Right.
Do you want
Then,
to? You kind
yes.
of went very quickly up, over this book, but do you want to give us just the basic premise that what's that changing planes about?
All right. I don't want to say too much because if I tell
Okay.
you what Changing Planes is, I'd be giving away the story. Because that's the whole, that's the basic premise of the story, Changing Planes. I can't really say without giving the plot away. All I can say is it's something you would not even conceive of by yourself, and you should read the book to
Okay.
find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's that. And I have another book here by Tolkien. These are, yes, everybody's favorite, Tolkien. Tales from the Perilous Real. These are basically short stories and some poems as well at the end that he's written. And it includes stories like Tale of Tom Bombadil, Adventures of Tom Bombadil. You,
Mhm.
I
Yes.
mean, Tolkien fans would know who Tom Bombadil was. Then Rover Random and Farmer Giles of Ham. These stories, these are meant for children,
Okay.
but adults can also enjoy them, quite good. And Leaf by Nigel is was my favorite story. Again, written for on first reading, you would think that it's for children, but when you read it, the deeper meanings are when you analyze the story and you read it and get familiar with it. It is not so much for children as it looks on the surface. It
Mhm.
The adults can also benefit from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, great book.
Okay. So
Recommended.
the illustration on the cover, do you know who
Yeah.
did that? Was that Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R.
No, this is
Tolkien?
written illustrated by Alan Lee.
Oh,
That's the name of.
is that the graphic novelist Alan Lee? I wonder if
Uh,
that's
I
the
don't.
I think that's the famous
That is
graphic
something we need
novelist.
to talk
Okay.
about. We'll talk about it in the Tolkien episode.
Yes. Okay, we'll do
We will
that.
go into more depth, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. We'll note it
Okay.
down.
Okay.
Right. Next, we have a very interesting book. It's called Mem Sahibs. So
Hmm.
these are this is a book is written by Ipsita Nath. She's a research scholar, and her PhD research was on the same topic. So by Mem Sahibs, I'm sure all the Indians at least would know what Mem Sahib means. The wife of a British officer was a British military officer was generally called a Mem Sahib during the times that during the British Raj.
And I think by
So
extension, all women holding an elite status in society were called mem
yes,
sahibs also, right?
yes, yes, and that was true for quite some time, even after the British left, right? So, and I would say even now, I'll come to that. Let me
Mm-hmm.
first talk about
Okay.
the book. So this book is about all these Mem Sahibs were these young white women, British women who came to India and got married to the officers who were posted in India,
Hmm.
right? Now they left Britain and India, very different worlds altogether. Now society was different, and weather, climate was different, and so many things were different. So they were very lonely, most of them, when they came to India. It was kind of like a shock to them. And there was a major phase of adjustment that was required for a young woman who came from Britain and settled down in India. And she kind of had no family support, and communication means of communication were very limited during that time. Even earlier, they used to come on ships, and it would take them some 3 months to sail from England to India, and it was not possible and the journey was full of dangers,
Mm-hmm.
pirates, robbers, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and high seas, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them turned to writing. So that because reading and writing was the one thing that they had that they could do. And even reading was severely limited because how many books could they bring over with them and all. So all these senior officers, especially who were posted at these remote outposts, and their wives joined them, uh, they had all the time on their hands. They had an army of servants to do the household work for them. So they turned to writing, and a lot of them wrote their memoirs. So they kind of actually recorded India's history through the perspective of the British. Of course, we know our history through our own perspective, but this is kind of the very real lived history of these women from their perspective. And it's quite entertaining. It's informative and entertaining. And yes, so I totally recommend this book. And the other very amusing thing is that the British have left almost 70 something years ago, but some of the traditions that were there in the British Raj are still continuing in India, especially in the Indian Defense Forces. So,
Mm-hmm.
as in some of the senior army officers' wives are still called Mem Sahibs
Yeah.
by the people who work for them. Uh, and as a former Mem Sahib myself,
Yes.
I can kind of, you know, have that perspective. Okay, because I was all the time I was analyzing, oh, this tradition still continues in the Indian Armed Forces, and okay, no, this tradition has died down, or this particular tradition is continuing, though in a diluted manner now, and stuff like that. So, especially for a person like me, this was very
Mhm.
entertaining.
Yeah, yeah. No, sounds really nice. Even for someone like me, who, so I'm not actively a part of the defense forces, but we've had so many family members in the defense forces. Like our grandfather he served in the Second World War. Maybe that's a story that we will share one of
Oh yeah,
these days. And then, my brother-in-law, your husband, of course, was
yeah.
a senior Air Force officer. And then I guess a lot of like second cousins and people who were a little far removed. So, I have also felt like I'm a part of the larger Indian Defense Forces family. So I'm guessing it will be entertaining for me to read as well.
It will be. It is an entertaining book, no doubt, because
Mm.
this is our history,
Yeah.
but from the point of view of the rulers.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting to know what they thought about the same events that we read about in history, and they
Sure.
have a very different perspective, obviously.
And that's great because, if you look, that's how your perspective gets enriched when you look at the same event or the same phenomenon through different perspectives, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. And we will remind me. We'll talk about this change of perspective again. I'm going to recommend a very good book which has this change in perspectives. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
So then, okay, another must read book that I can recommend is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. As most of the readers here would know, that Margaret Atwood is the author of the very famous Handmaid's Tale. So this book, sorry, is the continuation of the story that was written in The Handmaid's Tale. This is dystopian fiction. The genre is dystopian fiction, and it continues the story of the handmaids. And I mean, of course, The Handmaid's Tale was a cult classic kind of a thing and everybody's favorite. But I don't know how many people know that there is a second part also, and it gives the reader of The Handmaid's Tale much needed closure. At
Mhm.
least that's how I felt about it. And I love this book. It's great.
Hmm. That's
Recommend it. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so I read The Handmaid's Tale, and like you, I also needed closure, so I might pick this up at some point. It was quite popular when it was released here in Canada, in the West. Not
The
sure how
Testament?
much. Yes, the Testaments, because Margaret Atwood is a Canadian author,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
she's regarded as a national treasure here.
Right.
But not sure how much traction it got in India.
I don't think it was very popular in India because I've hardly heard anyone mentioning this book.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
I may be wrong. If I am wrong, please do let me know. But I
Yeah.
don't think many people read it, but it's a must read. And for people who don't know what Handmaid's Tale is, they should. It's a very popular series on Amazon Prime, I think, and
Or is it
you should go and.
Netflix? Is
Or is
Netflix
it
then?
on net? No,
I
it's on
think.
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, or one of the OTT channels that can
Okay.
easily be searched.
Hmm.
And yes, that's a must
So
watch.
I have to ask you. I know
Hmm.
that the series actually extended the story of The Handmaid's Tale. Like it went to places where The Handmaid's Tale didn't go. Did it? Is this book also featured in the series, the Testaments, or not?
So this, yes, the series did extend beyond the book, and whatever was beyond The Handmaid's Tale was based on this book. But it
Okay.
doesn't 100% follow this book. but definitely they read this book and they took it as the base and then extended the tale for the screen.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Next book I have is this is by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, very famous Indian origin author, but she lives in US. And she has other famous books, but this is an anthology of short stories by her. Moderately good read, I would say, not great. I mean, Chitra Banerjee has written better books, The Palace of Illusions being one. And that's the one that I said I would talk about perspective, because The Palace of Illusions is by the same author, is a marvelous, marvelous book.
Mm.
So basically, it is the tale of Mahabharat. Like every Indian knows Mahabharat, the basic tale, all of us know. So she has written the story of Mahabharat from Draupadi's perspective,
All
from
right.
Draupadi's point of view. Because every version of Mahabharat that we read or we see is from a male perspective. You know, the writer
Okay.
was male, the protagonists were male, all
Yeah.
male. And whereas Draupadi is a very important character who makes events happen and
Mm-hmm.
drives the story forward.
Right.
But nobody talks about Draupadi's perspective.
Mhm.
So she has written the entire sequence of events as how Draupadi would have seen it or what she would have felt.
Hmm.
So that's a great book that I recommend,
Okay,
right?
that's fantastic. Does she talk about the steamy stuff at all? Having,
Everything.
yeah.
I mean, it's not erotica.
Yeah.
It's not erotica, but
Mhm.
she does talk about, and there are some. I'm not going to say exactly what it is because
Mhm.
that would spoil the book. But there are some controversial points about it, which very traditional or religious people
Will
don't
not
like.
agree with.
They
Yeah.
take offense to those things
Yeah.
because yes, she's a woman. She's a living, breathing human being. She talks
Yes.
about everything.
So that's great because I have often wondered, growing up listening to the story of Mahabharata and even watching it on TV as a child, when I grew up and understood more things about, sexual relationships and so on, I always wondered, like, what was Draupadi going through? Did she have, like, she could not have had the same kind of relationship with all five brothers. There must have been one favorite, somebody who didn't
Yeah.
treat her right. So it's great that that perspective has been developed. Good.
Yes, it is there. It is there, definitely.
Okay.
All right. Then I'm going to just go off the genre and talk about a non-fiction book here. It
Oh.
says It Didn't Start With You. That's the title. Um, and this book talks actually about the mechanism of what we call generational trauma, because that is one word that we keep throwing about quite a lot these days, generational trauma, you know. So, what is generational trauma and why is generational trauma? Uh, so this it's an interesting read. It basically talks about what's hardwired into our genetic material. So we are the way we are, not because of something that we did, but it's kind of a lot of uh, how should I put it? It's like, again, generational trauma. But then, how does generational trauma get passed on from generation to generation? So that's what it talks about, that how it gets into your genetic material,
So is it
right?
who's the author? Is he a subject matter expert?
Mark Wolin
But
seems
is
to be a
he?
okay. I have not really done a
Okay.
lot of research about that. Is something that
Maybe
we'll
do you
have to
want to?
see.
Yeah. Do you want to open the because this is something that we should know. Is he a practicing psychologist or something?
Let me
It should
just
be in the
see.
book. Like if you open the first flap,
Okay.
you should probably see who he is. His credentials should be in there.
He has taught at the University of Pittsburgh,
Okay.
the Western Psychiatric Institute, the
Okay.
Omega Institute, the New York Open Center,
Okay,
and the
good.
California Institute of Integral Studies, in addition to many training centers. His articles have appeared in Psychology Today
Okay,
and
good.
many other journals and in the New Yorker.
Okay, good. So then, yes, subject matter expert. Good.
He
Okay.
is the subject matter expert. All right, good book, recommended.
Mhm.
Then I'm going to show these two books side by side because they're by the same author, Ted Chiang. Oh, sorry. Ted Chiang.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
both science fiction. This a very good author in the genre of science fiction. Both books are science fiction stories, short stories, novellas. Interesting read. Very good, plot lines, and I mean, for an intelligent reader, it's food for the soul. I would
That's
say.
that's great. So is it so I sometimes like with my work schedule and everything, I don't have the time to pick up a whole book. So you said these are stories. Are
These are
these
stories.
easy reads? Like can someone pick up a story and finish in, let's say, an hour, maybe an hour and a half?
They are a bit longer than that
Okay.
because some of them they are not. I would say not short stories, but novellas.
Okay.
So maybe you could finish it in two sittings,
Yeah.
two
Okay.
readings, and one of them has is a very major motion picture. I will just tell you. I will put
Nice.
it in the comment. I will
Yeah,
put it
wait.
in the description. And one of them, it's available on Netflix or something.
Okay.
Uh, so wonderful movie is also great. And my one more book I have to show you, which is this book.
Mm-hmm.
It says it won the book of the year. It's called Babel by this writer R.F. Kuang. So her books have been gaining a lot of popularity and visibility on social media these days. And if anybody has been watching, all those book talk channels or Instagram channels that do book recommendations, this book is all over those channels, and people are going crazy over it, gaga over it. So I actually bought it because I saw it everywhere and I thought should be good. What I want to say is this book, again, fantasy genre. The magic system that's described in this is excellent, very intelligently made, I would say, different from other fantasy genres, magic system. But the plot line and the characters are very simple, stupidly simple, I would say. Uh, this book might be a good read for beginner readers, people who are maybe just starting on their journey of reading fiction or fantasy fiction. Yeah, fantasy fiction. But not people who have, already read, let's say, Lord of the Rings or, experienced readers. I wouldn't recommend it for them because they'll just get bored.
Mhm.
So that's this is there. And then one very controversial book I have to say, don't go by the title of the book, please. It's called Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows. This
I
is,
heard about this.
this
It's
sounds
gained a lot of because of the title. I guess it's gained a lot of
it's gained a lot
notoriety.
of popularity. In fact, this was recommended by Reese Witherspoon. She has a
Okay.
book club apparently, and she
Okay.
recommended it, and it's been doing the rounds on internet. Same,
And
people have
is
been
it
doing.
is it steamy?
Look, I'm just about halfway. I'm
Okay.
still reading it. Okay.
Okay.
But I would say the best thing about this book is the title.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah.
Don't buy
Okay.
it.
All
Okay.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
So these were all the books that I read, physical copies. Now I would just like to show a PowerPoint presentation
Go ahead.
where I just want to show
So te
some,
so
yeah.
tell me, while you are starting the presentation, tell me what it is that you mean by reading. Because reading nowadays, I see all these Gen Z and these younger people. I'm sounding like an old auntie, forgive me. But these younger people, when you say, do you read? And they have read some sort of maybe a summary or they've heard something from someone, they tend to call it reading. So, do you want to take a minute and explain what you mean by reading?
Look, for me, reading is akin to traveling. Reading is many things for me, actually. Traveling, happiness, knowledge, wisdom, of course, those go without saying. But more than everything, it's entertainment.
Hmm.
It's a deeper kind of entertainment. It's not like a YouTube video or an Instagram reel or a video which you will just scroll and move on. I heard a very beautiful thing from one of the speakers that I listened to. He asked the audience a question, and I want to ask our audience the same question,
Hmm.
and even you. Do you remember the last book that you read?
Yeah, absolutely, with great clarity.
Yes. Okay, now tell me, do you remember the last reel that you watched?
No, I have a general idea. I watch a lot of cat reels, so I have a general idea of the kind of reels that I watch. But no, I can't recall it
Not
with
specifically,
the
no,
same.
because
Yeah,
you are not invested in that reel
yeah,
that much. So, for instance, when you read a book, if I pick up any book from the pile, even if I pick up this book, which I don't recommend too much, but if I have to read this book, I have to engage deeply with the characters. I have to get into the mind of the character, because the author would describe a certain character. Okay, what is she feeling, what is she going through, what's happening in her mind, which is something a video or a movie cannot describe so well.
that's
So
right.
the written word has that power.
Absolutely. And I mean, so that's a common experience that experienced readers have. So when their beloved books are adapted for the screen, even when those adaptations are done by very good, accomplished filmmakers,
Yes.
they still tend to be, readers tend to be disappointed because of the amount of detail that needs to be left out of this filmmaking process. So, okay, so that's the so you shared your feelings about reading. Oh, that's great. I was actually thinking about, what are the mechanics of reading for you? So, when you say I've read a book, do you mean that you have read the from the very first word to the very last word? Because for a lot of people, that's not what reading means.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
not?
yeah. No, no, because nowadays people tend to read summaries, um,
Oh,
and they tend to read like an excerpt here and there, and they have a general idea of what the book is about. But very few people are reading from cover to cover.
ah. So just that thing that you just said, my hubby, the non-reader, says the same thing. He's like, give me a book, I'll read the first page and the last page, I'll tell you what the story is about. I was like, please, let's not.
Yeah, yeah,
What is this? So I was telling him the same thing. I said, so the point is not to know the story here.
yeah.
The point is how we got from the first page to the last page. It's the journey
The
that's
journey
beautiful.
and
Yeah.
the time, I guess, that you spend in that world. It's a
Yes,
different world, and
absolutely.
you want to inhabit it and stay there for
If
some time.
someone just told you, okay, Harry Potter, what happens in the Harry Potter books? Okay, this is how it starts and this is how it ends.
Yeah,
Would, I mean, what would that do for you? Would that
nothing.
satisfy you?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
It's
But
the age-old story of
yeah,
this, hero who doesn't have much, but he wins over evil in the end. There's so many. Almost all cultures have these stories. We've heard them. Yeah,
there's nothing new in stories. It's just, it's, yes, these are the same stories, from ages before that have been written. But like every author adds something of their own self into the story, and every story becomes different. So, for instance, in Harry Potter, this, yes, just like you just described, this is a story of an underprivileged boy who is staying with people who don't care about him, and he's the chosen one. That those stories we've heard umpteen number of times, but that's not what the beauty of reading a Harry Potter book is about. It's about those small, even in the as things as small as names, let's say, the names of spells that she writes, and those small little inside jokes that the author shares with the reader through the medium of the language that she uses. That's the
yes,
beauty of it.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Okay, so did you want to take us through the rest of your reads?
Yes, I will, if uh, I
Yeah, yeah.
may.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Same. Okay. So this is another book by George R. R. Martin. It's titled Tough Voyaging, and it's an anthology of short stories by George R. R. Martin. And again, science fiction. Martin writes mean science fiction.
Mhm.
These are great stories. I read all of these stories. I think there are 12 or 13 in total, and it just left me hungering for more,
Yeah.
because this is the only book that he's written. There's no sequel or no part two or three of this. I don't know why he didn't write more. He's a brilliant writer, at least to me. He's one of my favorites, and I can't get enough of him.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yes, definitely recommended, especially for science fiction and fantasy fiction fans.
Okay.
Right. The next one is okay, this is a bit of a controversial book because of the author. So, this book is Growing Up Bin Laden by Jean Sasson, who also wrote the books Princess and Desert Royal and Daughters of Arabia. And there's a bit of a controversy about those stories. She says that those are real stories, but people, I mean, there's been talk that no, she only cooked up those stories. So it's the same author, but here she's telling the story of Bin Laden's family. And apparently, this book was written in collaboration with, if you can see the name here, Najwa bin Laden, who was one of the wives of Osama bin Laden. I think the eldest, the first wife of Osama bin Laden. He had many more. And their son, Omar bin Laden.
Yeah.
I think he's given up the Muslim identity and the Muslim religion now. And he lives in Germany, I think. So she has written this book in collaboration with these two. And this shows us in this is a window into the mind of the monster, basically.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed it. I, you know, I was very interested to see how he became what he became.
Hmm.
Right.
Okay.
So that was this. Okay. Then this one is Behind Bars: Prison Tales of India's Most Famous by Sunetra Chaudhary. And this is another great book, Sunetra. It's a very interesting book because these are tales of prisoners, actual prisoners, who are incarcerated in Tihar jail, I think. Yeah, Tihar jail. So she has written their stories. And there is another book by the same author. It's called Black Warrant. And based on that book, there is a very interesting series on Netflix by the same name, Black Warrant. A must see series and a must read book. And this book is also very good if you want to read some true tales. And if you want that old saying proven right, that truth is stranger than fiction, read
Hmm.
this book. It
Right.
proves that
Right.
truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. This book, The Help by Catherine Stockett. Uh, this is about, I think, 1950s America and how African Americans were treated, about themes of racism, inequality, those kind of things.
Hmm.
And again, it's a major motion picture based on this book. Actually, saw the picture, I saw the movie first, and I found the movie very interesting. And then I searched for the book that it was based on. And obviously, it did not disappoint.
Hmm.
Absolutely recommended. Very good book.
Okay.
And then, all right. So this is called Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. They're Russian authors. And this is an old science fiction novel. I think it was published in 1972.
Okay.
And there's a very interesting story behind it. When I was a kid, I used to go to my grandfather's place, Nanke, in summer vacations, 2 months long summer vacations, living in a village, nothing to do. Children, I mean, getting bored, no company, nothing. There was just a cupboard full of books. I don't know who stocked that cupboard, who read those books, who bought those books. I have no idea. I only know that when I used to get bored during those long summer afternoons, that cupboard was my only refuge. So I used to browse and I would just pull out at random something and then I'll just read whatever. So in one of those books, that was a book of science fiction stories. There was a story about a certain guide who goes into this area which is very dangerous. And so I read the story. I couldn't quite understand it. And for some reason, that story has kept haunting me throughout these years. So one of these days, I thought, let me take the help of ChatGPT and try to find what that story was because I want to read it and understand it. ChatGPT couldn't give me the answer, but I posted it in Reddit. And within 1 hour, I think I got the answer. It was this book
Yeah.
that story was taken out of. So once I got the name of the book, I was like, I have to read this. So I went to Amazon, got a digital version of it. And yes, I scratched that, I mean, years long itch. And this is,
Yeah.
and I must say that this is such a great science fiction story. Do you remember all these science, when we say science fiction or aliens or extraterrestrials, what comes to your mind? The first thing.
Those oval flying vehicles, those, excuse me, those flying, what are they called? The flying discs, the oval ones.
UFO. UFO.
UFOs, right? And green colored aliens for some reason.
Yes. So, that rubbish that Hollywood shows us, Martians, little green men, flying UFOs, screaming, sirens and flashing lights and all. So, you know, I don't know what that is, but this is none of that. This
Yeah.
is such intelligent science fiction. I was surprised. It's none of that. It's so different. I don't want to say what it is exactly. I want people to go and read this book. It's a
Hmm.
great book.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
that's great. So I want to interject a little bit because this the excerpt that we read that
Yes.
you were mentioning that came from this book, which happened to be somehow placed in that bookshelf in our Nanke, which is the maternal grandparents' house.
Yeah.
That was only an excerpt, and I also remember reading that, and we somehow never discussed that particular excerpt until a few days ago when we were talking about this episode. And interestingly, even I remember that excerpt very clearly, although I was very young when I read it. And I have whatever I remembered, whatever botched up version I had in my head, I have narrated that story to my partner, who
Hmm.
is also not a reader like your partner, but he is interested in ideas and conversations and stories. So he will often say to me that, oh, you read and you say that you've always been reading, so tell me a story. So this story I have narrated to him at some point, whatever I remembered of it. But now that you found it on through that person on Reddit, I intend to read it also. And by the way, I want to say, there's all this noise in the world about how great ChatGPT is. And yes, admittedly, it does some things well and it's a good assistant for some tasks. But, it does not overtake human knowledge and human perception. And this is just one example that proves it. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, that's correct. So
Great.
human knowledge is great. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, the way humans can process it, at least ChatGPT cannot do it, at least for now, at this
at
point
least
in
for
time.
now. And I
After
hope
10
it,
years, yeah,
yeah,
I hope it stays that way.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on to my last book of this year, 2025, is this absolute gem of a book
Hmm.
by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He's a Colombian author, and the book is called 100 Years of Solitude. This is um, supposed to be one of the greatest novels of 20th century.
Yes.
Yeah. So, wonderful book, but a little difficult to read, admittedly. I would say it's not for beginner readers. It is for experienced readers because I don't want beginner readers to get scared when they read this book. It
Yeah.
is a little difficult, but I will tell you a great way to read this book, the way I read it. So there is a wonderful web series on Netflix by the same name, 100 Years of Solitude, based on this book. And it is very faithful to the book, quite
Mm.
faithful to the book. I would recommend that you go watch the series first, then come back and read the book. So you will have a very good sense of what is going on and you will not get confused because that's the number one complaint. Because people tend to get confused. There are some elements in the book which are a bit confusing.
Mhm.
People tend to get confused because there's a story about one family, seven generations of the same family. And I mean, some of the names are very difficult for us because they are Latin American names. And the same name is shared by the father and the son and the illegitimate son also. And so
Okay.
it gets a little confusing because you have to basically keeping track of the names gets confusing. But if you watch the series first, then you get a very good picture in your head of who's who, who's the
Mhm.
father, who's the grandfather, who's the son, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So the series does not cover the whole books. The series stops somewhere midway,
Okay.
right? So it's not like if I watch the series, why should I read the book? No, you will definitely get a lot of other things out of the book, which you will not get in the series.
Hmm.
But it definitely makes it easier to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
so I also attempted to read this, and I have this book sitting somewhere at home in India, at our family home in Amritsar.
hmm,
But and yeah, you're right. I mean, those the names were very confusing. The other confusing part for me was the magical realism aspect of it. So those two things. But I do intend to read it at some point, and like you said, watching the series first might be a good way to do it.
yes, and also, a good way is to be aware that this book does touch upon the genres of magical realism.
Hmm.
Magical realism is, um, I mean, to understand it in layman terms, it's like the story is of a family in a real world, and it's not fantasy fiction or it's not magic or anything, but there are magical elements embedded in the story which are symbolic. So those magical elements will generally be there because the author wants to convey something through those elements. He wants to
Hmm.
convey a feeling or a thought or emotion or something like that through those elements. So
Hmm.
that is something to keep in mind and not get confused because of that.
Right. The other thing that I have read about magical realism is that um, there are elements of magic thrown into a seemingly normal narrative. So
Yeah.
you will perceive this is not a magical world, like let's say Harry Potter or Middle Earth or anything like that. This is a seemingly normal world, a normal family, their daily
Mm.
life and all that. And then into the midst of all that normality, the author will throw in some aspects of magic, and those aspects of magic are perceived by the characters as being normal. So as the reader will perceive this as something out of the ordinary, but the characters will not. So that I think is that right? Am I, because I have not
Yes,
actually read a book which a whole book which is in this genre, but I was trying to understand what magical realism is. So I read this academic text about it.
yeah. Yeah, that's correct. That's the gist of it.
Hmm. Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
So this concludes my list of the books that I read in 2025. Would you like to go next and tell us what you read in the past year?
Yes. So
Not past year, I mean, soon
this
to be
year,
past year.
yes.
This
So
year.
I read, I intended to read a lot more, And by the way, before I start, kudos to you for reading so much and reading so widely, across genres. You also read a nonfiction book.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. So I wish I had more time. And I'm not trying to make excuses here, but I really have very little time. I work as a researcher. I'm trying to set up my own consultancy. And I also live in Canada where there's no help or anything. So groceries, household chores, all that boring stuff. But anyway, let's get to the book that I did read. So I read one complete book that has been on my list for a long time. So I'm happy about that. Um, and I read it very deeply, which also, I'm pleased with myself for reading it deeply. By reading deeply, I mean I took notes as I was reading it and reflected on my thoughts as I was reading. And I had these very strong feelings, which I will talk about in a minute when I was reading it. And then I reflected on why I was feeling that way. I also read it with a reading buddy, and
Mm-hmm.
and he is someone who's also who also likes to read, who also doesn't get much time to read because of his teaching and research responsibilities. um, and he did not understand the context at all because the book is set in India. So it was fun for me because I was explaining the whole context to him. And in that process, also, I had an opportunity to reflect on what I was reading. So this is the book. It's called English August, an Indian Story by Upamanyu Chatterjee. Um, so this is the story of a young boy, a young Indian boy who joins the Indian Administrative Services and becomes a civil servant. And he's only in his early 20s. Okay. And the book is set in the 1980s. So that's the time period. Um, Now he's in his early 20s. He's very urban. He comes from this very elite urban Indian family. He has had an excellent education, and he has a degree in English literature. He listens to Western music. He reads Marcus Aurelius. He also reads the Gita later on in the book, but mostly he listens to his references are, Western authors, Western music, Western art. So he's very non-Indian in that sense. Um, and then what happens because of his job, he gets posted to a rural area. So he gets posted to Madna in West Bengal, and the poor boy just doesn't fit in because this is
Sumeet,
his.
don't tell us the story, please. We want to read
Oh,
it.
I'm just setting up the. Okay, all right. So I was just setting up the context. Okay. I'll not say much about the story, but okay, this much that he doesn't fit in, and that's like his interactions with rural India, with the work that he is expected to do, and then what happens. And this writing style, I'll just say something about that. It's very comic and entertaining. So Upamanyu Chatterjee, the author himself, was a civil servant, and this book, in large part, is based on his own experience. And he's got a very wry, very that British dry humor. It was a lot of fun. So I would highly recommend the book. It's a good read for the holidays. Get yourself in this funny mood. Um, this also was made into a film in which Rahul Bose played the lead. He played Agastya Sen, the protagonist. Unfortunately, this film is considered to be lost because the negatives got spoiled in a flooding incident. So where the film studio where it was being stored, that storage facility got flooded, and unfortunately the negatives got destroyed. Now, there are some restoration efforts that are underway. So hopefully it gets restored. Right now, if you search on YouTube, you will find just one scene, or I think two scenes, which have been restored somehow. So that's what I read. Other than
What
that,
what's the sorry, what's the name of the film?
the same, it's called English August.
English August.
Yeah. Um, And it's funny if you watch those scenes, Rahul Bose, I think this must have been very early in his acting career. He looks like such a young boy, which is apt, obviously, because he's playing a very young boy. So, yeah, it's good. So, other than you, if people are wondering why I've only read one book, I've also had to do a lot of academic reading for my work. And Puneet and I discussed this, and we don't want to bore you with too many details of the academic stuff that I read. But I think it'll be useful if I can just summarize it a little bit. So, there was this project that I had to develop. So, I had to write a research proposal for this project a few months ago, and most of my reading has was concentrated around this project. And so when you're writing a research proposal, you read hundreds of papers, right? So you probably don't read, from the first word to the last word, but not every paper. But you are required to read deeply in order to get a good idea of the academic literature on that particular subject. So this was a project that seeks to understand the distribution of unpaid care work within the household. So we know that unpaid care work is gendered. So women do most of the household chores. There is inequality in the way that the household chores are shared. So there's a statistic that I'd like to share here. So globally, on a global scale, women undertake approximately three-quarters of all the unpaid care work that is done. The global average of women's unpaid care work is 4 hours 25 minutes per day, in contrast to men who allocate an average of 1 hour and 23 minutes per day, right? So there's a huge difference there. And this is the global average. Now, if you break it down into regions and then further into countries, then a different picture emerges. You will see that in the global south, so in the developed, we don't call it developing countries or developing economies anymore. The politically correct term is global south. So global south, of which India is a part, there the differences are much more stark, with men maybe allocating, half an hour or even less than half an hour on household chores, and women allocating often more than 5 hours per day. So huge differences. Now, this is something that we tend to take for granted because this is what we've seen in our families. This is how we've grown up. Our mothers have been doing this and everything. But this unequal distribution of care work it leads to time poverty. And this is a serious economic concept, like time poverty, and it limits women's capacity to pursue education, to look after their own health, their own well-being, and also to take on paid work, right? So huge implications for women's quality of life. Now I'll stop here, although I could go on. But yeah, so that's what most of my reading this year has been concentrated around.
So, Sumeet, can you also tell us what you intend to read in the new year? You must have some list in your mind.
Yes. Okay. So great question. So this is one book that was on my list for this year. It's called The Good Terrorist by Doris Lessing. Now Doris Lessing is a Nobel Prize winner, and she produced an astonishing amount of work, huge volume of work. And for some reason, she's not very well known. But I found out about her very early on this year. And this book was on my list right after English August. I intended to read it. But then, yeah, I just could not. So definitely, I will read this book. And the other book that I intend to read is I had the good fortune to go to Arundhati Roy's new book launch at the University of Toronto a couple of months ago. So Mother Mary comes to me, and I would like to show off a little bit here, if I can. All right, here we go. So this is an autographed copy.
Ah, autographed copy.
Yes.
Lucky you.
Yes. So
Nice.
this is the other one that I intend to. I've read a chapter. I enjoyed it immensely. She's such a gifted writer. And like I said, I was at the book launch. I attended this conversation between Arundhati Roy and a local Canadian writer. And Miss Roy was talking about what her mother meant to her, and you know how those contradictions in her mother's personality, how they are reflective of contradictions in all of us. So yeah, I think I'll enjoy it. The other book that I want to read, that's been on my reading list for a lot, like 3 years now, is The
Uh,
Master and Margarita by
uh,
Mikhail Bulgakov, Russian author. And it's the premise is very interesting. The devil decides to visit Moscow, and then there are some bizarre things that occur. I don't know what it's about, and I don't want to know, but I've heard some very good things about this book from people whose opinion I respect. So that's the one. And this book, a small book called Candide by Voltaire, the French philosopher. This book I just happened to pick up at a used bookstore. And I said, oh, Voltaire has written something small. So let me read it. So this is primarily my reading list.
all right. That's a short and sweet, but really nice reading list. You've set some very uh, nice goals for your next year.
Yeah,
And
what about
yeah,
you?
I had quite a long reading list in 2025. I also have a long to be read list for 2026. And I want to mention that I bought all these books because I went to the Daryaganj book market, which is a Sunday book bazaar that takes place every Sunday in Delhi, an area called Daryaganj. And it's a haven, absolute haven for book lovers. This is a place where you can get rare books, you can get books that are out of print, you can get old precious editions of books, you can get used books and wholesale prices, and books directly from the publisher. So it's a place that if you visit, then you can pick up your quota for the next year all at once, which I did, and which my husband wasn't very amused about. Anyway, who cares? So I'm going to start with, again, Ursula's book, right? And
Yeah.
The Left Hand of Darkness. It's
Hmm.
going to be science fiction, obviously.
Okay.
All right. Then we come to a classic. It's called The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It's about a poet who is depressed and tries to kill herself, written by a poet who was depressed and tried to kill herself, and sadly she succeeded.
We
But
did,
the
yeah.
protagonist doesn't succeed. So
Okay.
that's fun. Then another classic, The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin,
Mm-hmm.
which I was, this is the book that we read about in biology, that Charles Darwin went to those Galapagos Islands and he observed and he wrote this book. I was very excited to get my hands on this book. And
Very
this is probably
nice.
the first book that I'm going to start reading in the new year.
Okay.
All right. Then another classic, Tess of D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy.
Mm. Very nice. Okay.
Classic, right? Okay. Another classic, Animal Farm by George Orwell, that
Oh,
everybody should read. Everybody
everyone
should read.
should read it. Agree. Yes.
It's not a very big book. It's a small book. You can finish it easily. And yes, especially living in these times, we must read
Yes.
this book. Yeah.
So we can even do an episode on Orwell, Puneet. I feel like we should, because
We
Orwell
will.
has this strong Indian connection also. So maybe we could do one
He
episode.
was born in India, I think.
He was
Is
born in,
that true?
I think born in India and then lived also here for some time, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
he
We'll
was
we'll,
born
we'll
to,
figure it out.
his father was posted to India as a British Army military officer, I think. I think.
Right.
I'm not very sure, but I think, yeah, that's correct. All right. So the next one, again, a very good, book, Fahrenheit
Hmm.
451. Not a very thick book. This is also must read for everybody. Um, so this is there.
Ray Bradbury. So this is
Ray.
also fantasy, science fiction, that
This is
genre.
no, this is in the same genre as George Orwell.
Okay,
Uh, he's writing about something, but it has a deeper meaning. It
okay,
means, you know, some
okay,
symbol.
got it. Mm-hmm.
It's in that genre.
Okay,
Then you will Noah
okay,
Harari's Nexus.
yes,
It's about the nexus between artificial intelligence and humans and how that will work out in future.
okay,
So
hmm,
I'm looking forward to seeing what he says. Yeah.
okay.
And then I mentioned Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and this is her book that another book by her.
Mhm.
Now, this, as you can see from from the cover, this is also written from a woman's perspective, and this is the story of Sita from Sita's point of view.
Hmm, okay,
Because Ramayana talks about everything, it never tells us what Sita thought and what she felt and what her thoughts were and what her emotions were.
hmm,
So that's all men, men, men.
yeah.
But then somebody gave a voice to Sita, and that was Chitra Banerjee Devakaruni. I'm going to, this is that book.
There is this also this an independent production that came that came up a few years ago, or maybe a lot of years ago. I don't know. I mean, time is not something that I perceive very clearly. But it's called Sita Sings the Blues, if I'm not wrong, and I will look it up and I'll put it in the notes and everything. So I think that was also Sita's perspective on things, and that was also very highly acclaimed at the time. And it's not a book; it's either a short film or maybe a full length film, and it's animated, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes. I also seem to remember it, and I think it's a film or something, animated
Hmm.
film. Yes, or a
Yeah.
musical maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, I have these two books by Madeline Miller, new author. Uh, I came to know of these from Instagram book recommendations, and these are based on the old Greek myths of Achilles and I think Medusa.
Okay.
That
Hmm.
lady who has snakes in
Snakes.
her head,
Hmm.
and if you look at her directly, you turn to stone. So
Hmm.
these books are about by a contemporary author based on those myths. So
Right.
they say that before you go all out, as you know, I'm interested in mythology a lot. And they say that if you want to explore the world of Greek mythology, first read these books. They give you a very good understanding in
Hmm.
simple words, and then you can go and read the original myths. So
Okay.
that's my reason for buying these. And next up, Beloved by Toni Morrison.
Hmm.
Very um, influential book of those times, 1960s, or whenever Toni
Hmm.
Morrison was
Hmm.
writing.
Right.
So this book
Yeah.
was in my Masters of English syllabus.
Hmm.
Not syllabus. The Color Purple by Alice Walker was in the syllabus, but this book was mentioned, and it was said that you should read this to get a feel of the times.
Hmm. And Toni
I
Morrison was a Nobel Prize winner.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And next up, a very I don't know. This is one of those modern books. Those recommended by Instagram pages. Uh, I don't know what it will be like. I'll let you know next year.
Okay.
This is my list. I mean, I'm sure I will read all these and I will read many more also. But these are the ones that I have for now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, that sounds very good. Looking forward to hearing what you think about the books. So maybe mid-year, we can do an episode where we take stock of what we've read so far.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Right. So
Okay.
now, Sumeet, do you want to tell us something about the the prizes for literature that were given out this year?
Yes, absolutely. So,
Yeah, I'm just
uh,
going to start sharing. Do you want me to do that?
sure, you can bring up that particular slides just so people can have reference for the names and everything. So
Yeah.
because this is a year-end episode, we thought we would also talk about the most revered prizes for literature. So the Nobel was given to Laszlo Krasznahorkai. I hope I've got the pronunciation right. He's a Hungarian author, and he's known for his difficult and demanding novels, often labeled postmodern, and they contain an exploration of dystopia, and they're quite melancholic. So, doesn't sound like it makes for very happy New Year themed reading. Puneet, you put on your reindeer ears. That's great. Uh, but the citation that the Nobel Committee gave to him, I'll just read it out. So the Nobel was awarded for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that, in the midst of apocalyptic terror, reaffirms the power of art. So very important theme, and I think we will talk about this at some point, Puneet, as I was preparing the notes for this. How uh, art is so powerful, and it has always carried humans through tough times. So something to explore for sure. And then two of his books I thought I will mention in case people want to read. So Saturn Tango and The Melancholy of Resistance. So that's the Nobel. The Booker Prize for 2025 was awarded to David Saleh. He's a Canadian, Hungarian, and British author, born in Canada. And then he went to England, I think, and then at some point lived in Hungary also. So David Saleh was awarded the Booker for his book called Flesh. And this is a book about male alienation, isolation, the story of a diffident and lonely young man, and it's a rags to riches story. And yeah, the International Booker, and we are very excited about this. The International Booker was awarded to Banu Mushtaq and Deepa Bhasti for Heart Lamp, which is a collection of short stories. And these short stories were written in Kannada, which is the language spoken in the Indian state of Karnataka. So written in Kannada by Banu Mushtaq and translated by Deepa Bhasti. And the Booker Committee included the translator in the prize, in the awarding of the prize, because to honor the work that a translator has to do in order to convey the meaning of the original story into a different language, right? So these stories chronicle the lives of marginalized Muslim women in southern India, and the focus is on themes of patriarchy, gender inequality, and also of resilience. So this actually, I should have said, this is also on my reading list for next year, or perhaps I'll find time to read during the holidays because these are 12 short stories. I think it's doable in the Christmas holidays. Um, okay, so those are the prizes of the year. And this is a surprise section for Puneet. Hang on, let me also put on my festive headband with two Santas.
Okay, we get into the festive mood now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
So
so
this
is
is
the surprise pleasant or unpleasant? I
it's
hope
ple-
it's a
it's
pleasant
it's
one.
absolutely pleasant. But look, there are two surprises. So there is also
Okay.
this one, these light
Oh,
this necklace that I have that I picked up from the
that's
dollar store.
so funky.
So I
Oh my
don't
God,
think both things are not in the frame, but anyway, I'll try and sit back a little
I
bit.
think they are. I think they are. At least
Okay.
partially.
So the other surprise is for you, Puneet. I have a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So rapid fire. I mean, you have to be rapid, right? So let's go. This is just the last section we will do.
Disclaimer, I'm an old woman. I can't be very rapid.
I think you can be because the questions are right up your alley. So let's see.
Okay.
Are you
Hmm.
ready?
Yes, ready.
A classic book that you're curious about.
Okay, no, no, you have to give me like some time to think, you know.
Okay, then we'll come
But
back to.
now that you have said, I am curious about The Lost Paradise by John Milton.
Okay, good. So next, a book that scares you. So it can scare you through its theme or through its length or through its complexity. So a book that scares you, but you are willing to try.
Okay, I have two answers for this. One is War and Peace by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It scares me because I want to read it, but
Tolstoy, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy.
sorry. That's what happens when you spring
That's
surprises on us.
okay.
Yes, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, because it's a huge book and it is reputed to be a very difficult read, but I want to read it. So that scares me. And one another book that I want to mention that literally scared me when I was reading it. I was in my early 20s at that time. It's called Pet Cemetery by Stephen King, the king
Yes,
of horror.
yes,
It was very,
yes.
very scary book.
And then you scared me. I was very
Yes.
young, and you scared me
Obviously,
by telling me the
obviously.
story. And I want to mention this actually that we were so you finished reading it at like 1 or 2 in the night, and then you told me the story. We used to share a room, so you told me the story, and then the light switch was not by the bed. The light switch was by the door, and so you had to get up from your bed, switch off the light, and come back to bed. And then both of us were not willing to take those few steps to the door because we thought that something is going to grab us from under the bed. So we
Oh
slept with the
God.
light on that night.
Yes, I truly remember. So, I have to, complete my duties as the elder sister and scare the younger sister. I have to do that.
Scare the living daylights out of your younger sister. Yeah, okay. Okay, so next question. One author you want to read more of.
Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Okay. Which fictional world would you like to spend some time in?
Harry Potter, of course.
Okay. And which character would you invite for tea?
Hmm. He who must not be named.
You'll invite him for tea? Why,
Voldemort.
why would you invite him for tea? You've got to
Just for
explain
the
this.
shock value of it. Just for the shock value of it. No,
Just
seriously speaking, I would like to invite Dumbledore.
for tea.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you recommended so many books in our conversation today, but which is the one book, if I had to ask you one book that you will pick for me for next year, what would that be?
One book. I will pick The Testaments by
Hmm.
Margaret Atwood.
Okay,
Yeah, because
fantastic.
you've read The Handmaid's Tale, and I want you to, read the complete story. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, fantastic. So that brings us to the end. This is funny because we thought that this is going to be a short episode. It's turned out to be very long. Um, but
Yeah.
let's conclude by wishing everyone a very happy holiday season. We hope you have
Happy holidays.
we hope you have a smashing start to 2026. Also, no matter what you believe or what religion you practice, uh, you know, lots of peace, health, and happiness to you. And we'd just like to mention all the festivals that we are aware of that are being celebrated at this time of the year. So, Christmas, New Year's Eve, of course, Ukrainian Christmas, which used to be celebrated January 7th because of the Russian Orthodox Church, but I think now they're switching to December 25th. But anyway, Ukrainian Christmas, Hanukkah, Lunar New Year, which comes a little later, but anyway, we're mentioning it, and Kwanzaa, which I've just learned about, which is the African American cultural celebration at this time. So from December 26th to January 1st. Uh, and if, Puneet, do you know of any other festivals that you want to mention or?
Actually, I was not aware that there are so many festivals going on at this time of the year. Thank you for doing that research and letting everybody know. Because when you said I want to mention the festivals, I thought, yeah, just Christmas and New Year. But no, there are so many others, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, actually, if you include November, then there are a lot more. Like there is also there's it is important in the Sikh faith also, those days of November. Um, there are so many. So November I did not include, but these are the ones in December and
Uh,
January.
So I think around December 26th or 27th, we also have the anniversary. That's not a festival, but it's the anniversary of Guru Gobind Singh's Sahibzade, his sons, being martyred by the Mughal emperor. So
Yes,
that is
that
also there. The
yes,
anniversary of that occasion is also there, and
that's right.
I thought we should mention it also.
That's right. That's right. So whatever you believe, but we hope that you believe in peace and happiness.
Yes, absolutely. And before we end, we want to ask our viewers, how many ever they might be, what books did you read this year? And let us know the name of the books that you recommend to us and to other viewers. And also tell us about your next year's plans. What books do
Mhm.
you plan to read in 2026? Please tell us in the comment section. We would love to know.
Yeah.
And also, if you enjoyed our conversation, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel because that gives a lot of encouragement to us. And for now, we publish one video a month. Also, I would like if you could check out our Instagram page that is mentioned here by the same name. And I also have an Instagram account for where I write poetic summaries of the books that I read personally, and also some book reviews. And that page is by the name of Verse Converse. So if you could check that out, that would be great.
Okay. Fantastic. And I guess that's a wrap for the year.
All right then. Happy holidays. Bye
Happy
bye.
holidays. Bye.